Here is my list of all the people who have left me such lovely comments. And I really want to thank you for that. Now, you're going to see here that the page is torn up. And when I was taking care of my daughter's dog, Finn, he got a hold of my little book here and he started chewing it. Little stinker. So thank you to all these lovely, lovely people who left me comments, who left me suggestions, who left me questions. I really appreciate it. It's just, I love reading your comments, and so many people have said such lovely things. So thank you so much again. It warms my heart when I read your comments.
Well, hello, and thanks for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner. In today's video, I'm going to continue working on Down the Garden Path. And what I've done since we were last together is I just did a little bit of canter stitching in there. And I added just some flowers down here. And our new prompt is visitors to your garden. And my idea is to put in a pond with a waterfall. Now we shall see how that goes. So I have this fabric that to me looks like water. And this is going to be the waterfall, and this is going to be the pond, and then I'm going to sew these stones around it. Actually, as a nurse, this looks like the esophagus, and this looks like the stomach. So, anyway, I don't know. I put some little French knots for the eyes. I'm not real pleased with that yet. So I've tried again with a different stamp. And these are Stampin' Up! Stamps. Let's see. This one here that I'm using right here is from By the Dock. They're all retired. I don't think you can get them anymore. And the other one is just a little cluster of fish stamp. I think it was from Whale of a Tale or Whale Done. Anyway. So I again have drawn my waterfall and my pond. I like these fish a little bit better. I can do some stitching around there and some stitching on the fish with different colors. Leave these as they are and maybe put a different eye in there. So I'm going to work on that a little bit. My plan is to stack a couple of these stones here up on top of each other and then have some beads come down so it looks like water coming into the pond. So let me stitch a little bit and then I will be back with you. We'll see how this turns out. So I finished sewing my fish. What I did is where it showed there was water, I just did a little bit of blue and white double-stranded thread. And then I used orange for the fish themselves to make them almost look like koi. And then on these little tiny ones, the only thing I did was add a little French knot for the eye and then French knots for the eye here. Then the next thing I'm going to do before I cut it out to put it on my piece, I'm going to lay these beads down. To me, they look like stones, and I'm going to sew them to this piece, and then I will cut it out afterwards. So let me show you what I'm doing for the rocks around the pond. So I come up with my two-stranded thread. It's just DMC on my beading needle.
and I take one of my beads. I ordered these from an Etsy store. I will try to remember to link the store, but it took a little bit of time to be able to find these. I love them because they're flat and they're just perfect for this project. So I lay my stone down where I want it to go, and then I poke my needle into the fabric and then pick it up and bring it toward the back. And then I go up again next to where I first had gone in. See if that's good. Yeah, I think that's good enough. And I go through it twice. So let me just go through it again. And then you have to kind of pull it taut so that it doesn't move and it's right where you want it to be. Then I'm going to go back down one more time. And then I loop my thread around the last area just so that it's really nice and tight and isn't going to come apart. And so it's double stitched with a knot secured there. So that's how I'm doing each one of these stones. So what I've done is I've sewed a second bead over the top of this one because I want to have my blue beads for my waterfall coming over it and kind of cascading. And so I need it to be a little bit higher. So I have sewn that on there, but the other thing I'm going to do is just take a little bit of my E6000 strong glue with a paper clip and put just a tiny bit underneath that stone. So one will be on top of the other one. There we go. Let's see if I can get that underneath there. Oops. I maybe should have glued it before I sewed it, but oh yeah, there we go. Okay. There, I think that helped already. I'd like to put a tiny bit more just to make sure. I think I need to probably buy a new thing of glue. It seems like it's already kind of drying out. No, you know what? I don't know if I can do that. Let's try it. Oh, well. Okay, so I just slipped that underneath there. And then I'm going to hold that for just a minute and let that dry. I think that will work. So I've been getting ready for my trip to Singapore and Italy. Yesterday I spent the day finalizing hotel reservations for Italy. There are 2 people from Australia that also wanted to go to the Italian trip or the Italy trip early, 5 days before the official tour starts, and I've never met these gals, but we're gonna tool around and do a couple of things and explore. That really makes that kind of top heavy. I may have to, maybe when I sew it down, it will help it. But I'm going to just leave that for a second. So what I did next is sew lines of beads over this top rock, and I put anywhere between 3 and 4 beads, but I want those threads to stay there. So what I'm going to do is just apply a little bit of art glitter glue over the top of them, because then I'm going to be sewing some rocks over the top of these. So hopefully it will hide them. So we'll just add just a tiny little bit of art glitter glue here so they don't slide off that first stone, and I will let it dry. I hope it looks like a waterfall. We'll see once it gets put down on the slow stitch piece. So I'm going to let that dry. I've added some of these green rocks. I believe I got these from Joann's, over the top of those. And then I found a die that has a frog. So I just took this plain muslin fabric and ran it through my die cutting machine. So here it is, and it just cut that little frog perfectly. And so I just take a little pokey tool, lift it up off of, oh, we lost a foot. I'm going to have to cut him again. Let's see if this one came out better. Fragile little thing, isn't he? Oh, I got his... He's so fragile. The last ones I've done, these other two, it wasn't... I didn't lose legs. Okay, well, let me just try it again. Okay, this time I didn't use my self-healing mat to cut that little frog out. So then what I did was just take some of my alcohol inks, my Copic alcohol inks, and I colored my little frog. So I've got a couple of different colors here, some olive greens and what have you. And I just am putting different, like, you know, on the legs a little bit darker, the bottom of the body. Then we'll go in with a light color up here toward the top. And then this is like kind of like a yellow green. We'll do this foot. So there, I've colored my frogs. I've got 3 of them. And I'll be able to put them somewhere. Now, I know I had 3. I'll have to find out where the other one went. I know it wasn't oh, wait. No, I do have 3 because 2 came out really good. Oh, here he is. He's jumping in the pond. Yeah, at least those alcohol inks do give them a little bit of stability. So the next thing I want to do is cut down my pond, making sure not to cut the threads. It's definitely going to add some bulk to my piece, but to me, that's okay. It's going to be hanging from a wall anyway. Okay, that looks a little bit better. And what I could maybe do, I think I'm going to go in a little bit closer. If I turn this over like this, I can see where my threads are and make sure I don't cut those. And then what little piece is left over on the back here is where I will sew it down to my main piece. So I thought I would give you a little update on my little hospital. So March the 28th in the local newspaper, the headline was Hollister residents say Hazel Hawkins Hospital lacks transparency. And apparently they had a meeting in which some of the people from the community spoke, and they voiced grievances saying that the board was incompetent, they lacked transparency, and they called for the board to resign en masse. And I'll tell you why they thought that. And just when I think the hospital is maybe going to be okay, I hear this. So the chief financial officer reported, he said, $2 million in payroll taxes had not been paid, and there would be significant penalties. Now, I mean, this is the chief financial officer, and he thinks that's the way to run a business, by not paying payroll taxes? So I think the writing's on the wall. I don't know how they're going to come out of that. And looks like sometime this summer, I will be without a job. Unbelievable. And I think if I sow some rocks around the pond and some flowers and grasses, it will hide this part right here. Okay, so there's my pond, and I think it's turning out perfect. I love it. So to attach it to my piece, what I'm going to do is just put some stitches, like as if, like I have here, is the water. And we're just going to do some random stitches. But do I want this color thread? Hang on just a second. Let me think on this a little bit. So I've decided to go with a lighter color blue 747. So, and I'm using 3 strands. So I'm going to do it just to tack it down. And then I'm going to go around, like I said, the edge with maybe some turkey work to have some grass there. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. It's like with anything as you're sewing, with slow stitching, you know, initially it's not going to look that great for some reason. You have to just keep at it and keep at it, adding your stitches, and then pretty soon it will come together. And I think that's what's happened with this piece. Now I want to fold this underneath here, so I need to bring in a stitch right there. So the other thing that I've decided to do, so I'm not sure how caught up I'm going to be on videos while I'm gone on my trip. But what I thought I might do is do like a travel vlog and videotape some of my trip to Singapore and Italy, especially when we're doing the shopping through antique stores and vintage stores and what have you, fabric stores. I thought I might film some of that for you guys. If anybody is from Singapore, let me know what you think I should check out while I'm there. You know, is there specific papers or inks, paints that you feel I would be interested in? Let me know. The other thing I'm going to have to do is, in between trips, I'm going to try to make it to a post office, and anything that I buy in Singapore, I'm hoping to ship back home here instead of carrying it in luggage. And I think I may have told you guys when I'm in Italy, since I'm only taking a carry-on and a small little bag, I'm not planning on checking any luggage. I'm hoping to go to some kind of a thrift store in Italy and buying just an old beat-up piece of luggage and putting everything that I buy there in Italy and checking it. At least that's the plan. So I'm going to continue with this, tacking it down, and I'll be back with you guys. Now, one of my other dies is this. And so I ran it through some fabric. And so there's just a couple of areas that need to be snipped. But I thought that looked good up here, along here. So I'm going to add that. I tell you, this is so much fun. I love doing this. I wonder what our next prompt is going to be. I finished stitching that down, and so now I want to add some grass back here into the back. So what I'm going to do is turkey work, and to do turkey work, you bring your thread up, and I actually put 12 strands of thread because I want it to be quite thick. And so you bring it up and then just bring it down and you loop it. So there's a pretty good loop right there. And you're going to be trimming it off. So then now I'm going to come back again and create another loop. And you just keep doing that, and then you anchor it. Okay, there's loop number 2. Let's go up again. I want to bring some over here to this side. Did I catch it back here? I did. I could tell that because this is pretty long thread, I kind of knew that I was catching it. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and then once I get a bunch of loops, I'll show you what you do next. So once you've done all of your loops, you just snip your loops and then cut it down to the size you want your grass to be. And that's it. And then you just kind of bring your either your needle or your scissors through to kind of separate all those threads. So I'm going to separate them, and then I'm going to cut them a little bit shorter. And I'm going to cut them kind of at different lengths. But I like that back there. That looks good to have all that there. And then I'm going to put a little bit more grass here and there with this same similar turkey work, but I won't have it quite so long as this one. But isn't that cool how that looks there? I like that. Okay, there's my pond with a little bit of grass. I added a couple of flowers here, and then I added my 2 little frogs. Tell me, does it look like it looks like a pond, but does that look like a waterfall? The other thing is I've got this butterfly, and I'm going to attach him somewhere. So the next thing I've done is stitched a little butterfly there, and I may even add some lighter purples in there. And from that, it was this fabric here, and I just cut out a butterfly and then sewed it on. Then the other thing is I have this fabric that I bought at Joann's, and I've cut out a little bird there, and I'm gonna tuck this bird in here and then sew that there. So that's gonna be my next step. Well, I finished stitching my bird here, and I'm very pleased with what I did. Just as a recap, I did my pond. I've got 2 frogs, lots of grass here. I did a butterfly, and then my bird. So I'm going to start at the top and just kind of roll it through so you guys can see the progress. Definitely need some more flowers here. There's my garden gate. I might need a cat or a dog there. My title page or title area down the garden path. I'm going to put more grass in there too. My scarecrow, my garden. Got a nice area here to put a tree. Then my garden shed, my pots and plants, and finally my pond and my butterfly. And then I've got that much work for additional prompts. So anyway, thank you for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner, following down the garden path with Rachel and Sarah. I'll see you guys next Monday. Thanks and bye-bye.